In this video, we're going to show you how to install rear drums and brake shoes on your Toyota Camry located behind your rear wheels. Using a pry tool, go ahead and pop off your center cap. Using your 21mm socket, loosen and remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it and set it aside. Grab that brake drum, wiggle it. Slide that off and set it aside. Before we tear anything apart here, we're going to go ahead and use some brake solvent to clean up all of the brake dust here. We don't want to breathe any of this in. So let's go ahead and soak this down liberally and clean it up. Now our rear brake shoes have been adjusted outward from where there's an adjuster wheel on the back side here. We're going to go ahead and use our flathead screwdriver, and we want to go ahead and move this wheel so that it compresses or brings the shoes back in all the way. That's going to give us less retention or tension on our springs, making it easier for us to take apart. So we're rotating our wheel up. Now you can disassemble the brakes without doing this here. If the adjuster wheel is seized, rusted, whatever it is, you're not stuck. It just, doing this step here does make it easier for disassembly. Now on either side here, we should have a cap, retaining cap with the spring and the little pin that goes through the back side. Should be one here and one on the other side. This side here is completely missing. So what you want to do is reach on the back side, find the head of the pin. You can use that tool and we're going to twist that. And what we're trying to do is line up the head of this pin with the opening in that head here. And there it is. You're gonna release that spring and then push the pin out through the back. On the bottom side, we have the spring. It's not setting in its proper position, but you wanna go ahead and remove that and set that aside. We have our lower spring here. The hooks go through the front side of the lower portion of the brake shoes themselves. Now we have this tool here with a notch in it that should get behind that spring. Just bump that out. Go ahead and remove that spring, set it aside. On the upper portion, we have the spring that sleeves the adjuster, comes across and hooks into the front shoe. Going to use our tool here with the hook on it, with a little notch, tap that, and get that spring to unhook. And we want to go ahead and separate these components. Wiggle that off, set that aside. You're going to slide this shoe back. Now we have the e-brake cable still connected on the bottom here. On the top, we have the adjuster wheel with the spring. So the spring itself hooks onto the back side of the rear pad or rear shoe. Going to slide that out, and then together we're going to slide the adjuster off the unit here as well. But the adjuster fits into the adjuster lock right here. So we have to kind of separate that There's a spring on the back side. We're going to use a pair of pliers. We'll go ahead and separate that. Then we'll go ahead and separate, pull this out and slide this out here. There is a locking clip here. I want to go ahead and pop this off. Once you have that little E-clip popped off, we'll set that aside. Very important step here. Slide this off. On the back side, there's a horseshoe clip that retains the e-brake lever here onto this shaft or post. I want to go ahead and open that up. Your next step is to open up this horseshoe clip. You can use a pair of needle nose pliers. You can use a flathead screwdriver. But basically you just want to get in there and open this up and slide this off this post. So there is your horseshoe clip. Set that aside. Go ahead and work this off. Don't forget to remove this spring. Before installing all of your new components, you want to go ahead and clean up that backing plate. You can use a wire brush. Now there are 3 points on this side that are critical and 3 points on the front side that are also as critical. So make sure you get all 6 of these points. Now that we have our backing plate all cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and put some silicone paste on the 6 contact points for our brake shoes. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a thin coating. These are friction points, so you definitely want to go ahead and do this. Take the rearward shoe, has the post on the top. Go ahead and slide this over. Install the horseshoe clip. Push that over. Now you want to pinch this. So normally what you can do is just use a pair of pliers. With that pinched over, our next part we need to install would be this here. Go ahead and take the adjuster tab or lock unit here, slide that over. You want to go ahead and put this behind the e-brake arm. Boom. Push it over. Take your E-clip and line that up on there. Use your pliers and just kind of pop that on. Okay, we have our E-clip popped on there. So we have our small spring here. This is going to go on the lower hole. There's 2 holes in the brake shoe. This is going to go on the front side of the lower hole. Now it's going to go behind And this is going to hook onto the adjuster lock or lever here. Now we have our adjuster here and we have the spring. I want to go ahead and match this up as these are side specific. So match it up, the angles of everything. Go ahead and slide this off. Now this does come apart. Slide that off, and there is a washer right here. I'm going to slide that off, set that aside. The adjuster itself should unthread. So disassemble this unit here. We're going to clean the threads and then apply some new grease to this here and reassemble. And we'll put a little bit of grease on the end here and put this on. We want to go ahead and operate everything. Make sure that there's no restrictions. Go ahead and take the spring assembly. Now the notch here is going to go onto the backside of the shoe. There's a little square nub right here that's going to go into this arm. I'll go ahead and fold this over. Go ahead and get the spring hooked up inside there. I went ahead and we popped this spring in place, but we need to make sure that this spring here, it hooks on the front side of the shoe, but it runs behind like so. Go ahead and install your bracket here. Make sure this tab goes behind. We have the adjuster lined up. We have the large spring hooked up into this outer hole here. So simple enough, we're able to just grab that, hook that up like so. Go ahead and line that up. We have the lower spring here. And this goes in like so. Go ahead and line our shoe up into position. Take the pin, feed it through the backing plate. And you want to push it through so it comes through right here. Go ahead and put the spring over this. You want to take the little locking cap here, line that up, and there's a slot in the middle of it. You want it to line up. You want that to line up with the pin. Push it and twist that cap so it locks into or onto that post. Now right here we have the spring, which is going to go into this hole here. And then we have the adjuster that's going to go right in this little mouth right here. This tab right here goes into the piston itself. So what we want to do is make sure that this is adjusted. The adjuster has the slot going up and down, so it'll fit into this. And take our tool here with the hook on it. Gonna line this up. Pop that on. I want to go ahead and get that adjuster popped up onto that shoe. Have the spring on, the adjuster on. Let's go ahead and install our next component here. Now on the bottom, we have this lower spring. So the spring goes behind this tab, but onto the lower portion of our brake shoes. All right, so we have our spring hooked up on the bottom. Install the pin through the back. Now we have everything installed. You want to make sure that the shoes themselves, when you push on them, it's actually moving that piston back and forth. Just give it a couple taps. Do an overall inspection around the perimeter. Make sure that the gap is appropriate all the way around. Make sure our adjuster tab or lock is in place. Inspect all your springs. And we're ready to install our drum. Before we install our drum, we want to go ahead and give it a good spray down with some brake solvent. Wipe that out, get any shipping oils off of the brake surface. Now when installing your drum, you want to start with a test fit. And you can see that it's super sloppy. We now want to go ahead and do the adjustment for our brake shoes. Now we have our adjuster wheel in here, and we're going to use a flathead screwdriver. And we want to go ahead and rotate this. Now you're going to rotate it towards you, and you can hear it engaging on the lock or the adjuster there. And by doing this, what's happening is it's causing our brake shoes to expand outward. Now we want to do this in small amounts. Then grab your drum, and we want to fit this on. Now what our goal is to do is you want to make sure that it doesn't have this kind of slop. We want to make sure that it has just a little bit of friction on there where we can slide this on and off, but not bind up. We want to continue this process until that drum fits. There it is right there. We have just a tiny bit of play there. Drum pops on. Now we do want to go ahead and put some anti-seize compound on the hub face, and then we'll put our drum on and install our wheel. Now if you have a brush on anti-seize, go ahead and put that on. We have our spray. Make sure you protect everything in the background from getting overspray on there. Now that we have the driver's side done, you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. At that point there, install your wheels, torque them down, and you're all set. Grab that wheel, good, line that up. Let's go ahead and get our lug nuts started. Go ahead and torque down your lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. And do this in a crisscross or star pattern. If you have a center cap or hubcap, go ahead and install that now. You're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.